What's old is new again. More and more music fans are making room for vinyl, and that includes the owners of a new vinyl record listening lounge in Milwaukee's Bayview neighborhood. Daniela Cotto dropped by Wiggle Room, where customers are enjoying the warm sound of vinyl in a cool environment.
To me, music's like the ultimate way to connect to people.
John Dykstra.
Almost everything that is good has come to me because I was in a band.
And Jim McCann.
I met my wife, my business partner, all these different opportunities.
Along with her buddy, Chris Schulist.
1983, so like 8 years old. I always really liked records just for like the artwork of it and just to be able to sit and hold it.
Recently opened up a cool vinyl record lounge in the Bayview neighborhood.
My uncle is kind of the reason I got into it. That's what these all are. He left me his collection when he passed away, like right before COVID.
He says about 5,000 records line the walls. 75% came from his Uncle Gene.
I have a lot of records in my house, and I didn't want to put all of these also in my house. And I was like, what if we did the vinyl bar, like my dream bar?
The concept of a listening lounge comes from Japan and has thrived in big cities across the U.S. The three amigos thought to bring a similar idea to Milwaukee.
I always DJ'd in bars. I love DJing in bars, but DJing in a bar sometimes is kind of an afterthought where there's not a specific area for that to happen. A lot of times it doesn't sound very good, and then you have people in there fighting over that to talk.
Chris met Jim years ago, touring the country with their respective bands.
We wanted kind of a playful name. I was just looking at records, and there was a song called The Wiggle. And I was like, oh, The Wiggle, that's pretty fun. And I said it to my wife, and she came by, and she said, The Wiggle Room. And I was like, oh, man, that is better.
When they settled down in Milwaukee, they became business partners, running a successful bar in Bayview, known as Vanguard.
I asked them, what are you guys going to call the place? And Jim kind of sheepishly was like, I don't know, we've been kicking around this idea of the Wiggle Room. And I just laughed. It's so silly.
While John mostly worked at record stores.
Going into that, I was like, you know, the punky emo kid. But leaving that, I was like really into jazz and world music. So I went to school for recording. And then at some point, I did end up being in a band.
Now, as a sound engineer, he helps others like his co-owners design rooms to sound better.
Right behind me, this is a bass trap and a diffuser, so this is going to soak up bass energy and kind of make the reflective signature of the room a little bit more interesting.
Jim handles the beverages, specializing in Japanese whiskeys and beers.
We think it'd be kind of fun if we had the biggest collection of Japanese whiskey in Milwaukee.
But they also cater to those who, like Chris, don't drink alcohol.
About 5 years ago, I stopped drinking, so we have a large NA program. I just didn't want to be that person that is just getting a seltzer refilled.
They hope the Wiggle Room can be a safe and comforting place for anyone.
I'm always worried someone's just going to be like, oh, here's another hipster bar or whatever, but it's not like that.
To have moments of discovery and even transport us back in time to a distant memory.
There's going to be a lot of nights here where I think people might not recognize a song for 20 or 30 minutes, and on an emotional level, that can kind of get weird for people sometimes. And then all of a sudden, there's that song, right, where it's like, oh, man, this is my jam.